The night was a gaping maw, hungry and black, swallowing the last traces of moonlight. The forest breathed with the rustle of unseen things, creatures that knew better than to linger when the wolves were hunting. She moved like a shadow, swift and silent, her pale skin glowing faintly in the dark. Seraphina, a vampire, a ghost of the night. Her crimson lips parted just enough to taste the air, sensing danger before it struck. But tonight, the wolves were faster. A snarl ripped through the trees, then another, then a chorus. She spun, fangs bared, just as the first werewolf lunged. Its massive body collided with hers, sending her crashing into the dirt. Claws raked her ribs, drawing black blood. She hissed, slashing back with nails like daggers, but more wolves emerged from the darkness, hulking, furred beasts with eyes like molten gold. The largest of them, Korak, stepped forward, his muzzle stained from a recent kill. His voice was a guttural growl. "Look what we caught." A bloodsucker strained too far from her coffin. Seraphina spat at his feet. "I don't fear dogs." Korak backhanded her, sending her sprawling. The pack laughed, a chorus of barks and howls. They circled her, taunting, snapping their jaws just shy of her skin. One young wolf darted in, biting her arm hard enough to crack bone. She didn't scream. She just stared, cold as the grave. Then her gaze locked onto him. Darian. He stood apart from the others, his massive frame tense, his golden eyes burning into her. Unlike the rest, he wasn't laughing, wasn't jeering. He just watched, his breath coming in slow, heavy gusts, his claws flexing at his sides. Korak noticed. "Something on your mind, brother?" Darian's lip curled, but he said nothing. Seraphina smirked, blood trickling from her lip. "Maybe he doesn't like seeing you play with your food." Korak snarled and struck her again. This time, her head snapped to the side, her dark hair fanning across the dirt. She stayed down, her body trembling, not from fear, but from the effort of holding back. She could kill at least 3 of them before they tore her apart. But she waited, because Darian was still watching. Korak grabbed her by the throat, lifting her off the ground. "Let's see how long that pretty mouth stays sharp." He nodded to the others. "Break her." The wolves descended. Fangs tore into her. Claws ripped at her dress, her skin. She twisted, fought, but they were too many. One bite sank deep into her shoulder, and this time she couldn't stop the gasp that escaped her. A roar split the air. Darian moved like a storm, shoving 2 wolves aside. His claws flashed, slicing the throat of the one holding her. The wolf dropped, gurgling. The pack froze. Korak's eyes darkened. "What are you doing?" Darian didn't answer. He just stood between Seraphina and the others, his chest heaving, his gaze locked onto his alpha. A challenge. Seraphina wiped blood from her mouth, watching him with narrowed eyes. She didn't understand, but she didn't need to. The moment stretched, thick with tension. Then Korak snarled, "Fine, let her rot in the pit. We'll deal with you later." The wolves dragged her away, her bare feet scraping against the earth. But as she was thrown into the darkness of their dungeon, her last sight was Darian, still standing there, still watching, still hungry. The dungeon smelled of damp earth and old blood, iron bars thick with rust cut the moonlight into jagged stripes across the floor. Seraphina sat in the darkest corner, her back against the cold stone, her torn dress stiff with dry gore. The wounds on her skin had already begun to knit together. Vampires heal fast, but the silver lingering in her flesh burned like acid. She closed her eyes listening. Outside, the wolves celebrated. Their howls shook the trees, their laughter sharp with cruelty. They had won tonight, but she was no one's prize. A shadow moved beyond the bars. She didn't open her eyes. "Come to gloat, wolf." Silence. Then the slow scrape of claws against metal. She looked up. Darian stood there, his massive frame filling the space between the bars. His golden eyes glowed in the dark, fixed on her with an intensity that should have made her flinch. It didn't. She tilted her head. "Or did you come to finish what your pack started?" He didn't answer. His nostrils flared, scenting the air, her blood, her pain. His jaw tightened. She smirked. Disappointed I'm not screaming? A low growl rumbled in his chest. Not a threat. Something else. She pushed up her feet, wincing as her muscles protested. The chains around her wrists clinked as she stepped into the thin light. Her skin was pale as bone, her dark hair tangled with leaves and dirt, but her eyes, black as a starless sky, never wavered. What do you want? She asked. He reached through the bars, his claws retracting just enough to curl his fingers around the iron. The metal groaned under his grip. She didn't move. You're not like them. His breath hitched. A shout echoed from outside. Laughter, the sound of flesh hitting flesh, another prisoner maybe, or one of the pack turning on each other. Wolves always did love a fight. Darian's grip tightened. The bar bent. Serafina's gaze flicked to it, then back to his face. You could leave. His eyes burned. You could run, she murmured. But you won't. A snarl twisted his lips. He yanked at the bar, hard enough to shake the entire cell. Dust rained from the ceiling. She didn't flinch. Why? He stilled. His chest rose and fell, his muscles coiled like a beast ready to spring. But he didn't move. Footsteps approached outside. Darian's head snapped toward the sound. His lips peeled back from his fangs, a silent warning. Then he looked at her one last time, a look that seared like a brand, and vanished into the dark. Serafina exhaled. The dungeon felt colder without him there. Outside, the wolves' laughter grew louder, closer. She smiled. Let them come. The howling had stopped. Now there was only silence, thick, heavy, pressing against the dungeon walls like a living thing. Serafina listened, her fingers curling around the chains that bound her. Something was wrong. Then the screaming started. Not human screams, not prey. These were snarls of rage, howls of pain, wolves tearing into wolves. The scent of fresh blood seeped through the cracks in the stone, metallic and hot. She stood, the chains rattling. The door exploded inward. Wood splintered, iron hinges screamed, and there, framed in the wreckage, stood Darian. His fur was matted with blood, his claws dripping. His golden eyes locked onto her, wild and unreadable. She didn't move. You're late. He crossed the cell in 3 strides, his claws slicing through her chains like they were made of paper. The metal hit the ground with a dull clang. Outside, the fighting grew louder. They know, he growled. She flexed her freed wrists. Know what? He didn't answer. His ears twitched at the sound of approaching footsteps. Too many, too fast. His muscles tensed. Then Korek's voice roared through the dungeon. Traitor. Darian snarled, shoving Serafina behind him as the Alpha lunged through the door. Korek's claws raked across Darian's chest, sending blood splattering against the walls. Serafina bared her fangs. The other wolves poured in, their eyes glowing with fury. They didn't hesitate. They attacked. Darian moved like a storm unleashed. His claws tore through flesh. His fangs ripped out throats. But there were too many. A massive wolf tackled him, its jaws closing around his shoulder. Bone crunched. Serafina struck. Her hand shot out, fingers curling around the wolf's throat. She yanked, twisting until its spine snapped. The body dropped. The pack froze. Korek stared at her, his muzzle stained with Darian's blood. You bitch. She smiled. You forgot something. What? I was never the one in the cage. Then she moved. Her fist slammed into Korek's ribs, cracking bone. He staggered, but she was already behind him, her nails slicing deep into his back. He howled, whirling to strike, but Darian was there. His claws tore through Korek's throat. Blood sprayed. The Alpha collapsed, choking on his own life. The pack howled in fury, but no one attacked. Darian stood over Korek's body, his chest heaving, his eyes burning into theirs. A challenge, a warning. One by one, the wolves backed away. Silence. Then Darian turned to Serafina. His gaze flicked over her, the blood on her hands, the dark hunger in her eyes. Something unspoken passed between them. She tilted her head. Now what? He bared his bloody fangs. We run. And they did. The forest swallowed them whole. Branches lashed at their skin as they ran. the night air thick with the scent of pine and blood. Darian moved like a shadow given teeth, his powerful body cutting through the underbrush without sound. Seraphina kept pace beside him, her bare feet silent on the damp earth. Neither spoke. Words were useless now. Behind them, the howls began again. Closer this time. Darian's ears twitched. His muscles coiled, ready to turn to fight. But Seraphina caught his arm. Her fingers dug into his fur, not restraining, just holding. "Not here," she murmured. His nostrils flared. He could smell the silver still burning in her wounds, weakening her. She was fast, but not fast enough. Not like this. A snarl ripped from his throat. Then he was moving again, this time with purpose. He led her deeper into the woods, where the trees grew twisted and ancient, their roots knotting the ground like veins. The moonlight couldn't reach here. Good. The howls grew louder. Seraphina's breath hitched, just once, barely there, but Darian heard it. He didn't slow. His claws sank into the bark of a massive oak, hauling himself up. Then he reached down for her. She didn't hesitate. Her cold fingers wrapped around his wrist, and he pulled her up after him, into the canopy. The branches shuddered under their weight, leaves whispering secrets to the wind. Below, the wolves arrived. They circled the base of the tree, muzzles pressed to the earth, sniffing. One growled, low and frustrated. Gone. Another snapped its jaws. Impossible. Darian's grip on the branch tightened. His claws bit into the wood. One sound, one wrong move, and they'd be found. Seraphina went perfectly still beside him. Not even her breath stirred the air. The wolves argued, their voices rough with anger. Then, slowly, they moved on, their snarls fading into the dark. Silence. Darian didn't relax. His eyes stayed fixed on the shadows below, watching, waiting. Seraphina studied his profile, the sharp angle of his jaw, the way his fur bristled along his shoulders. He was hurt. Not just the fresh wounds from the fight, but older ones. Scars. She could smell them. "You're bleeding," she said. He didn't look at her. "So are you." A faint smile from her lips. "I'll live." Finally, he turned. His golden eyes burned through the dark, tracing the silver burns on her skin. The way she held herself just slightly too stiff. His jaw clenched. Then he dropped from the tree, landing without a sound. Seraphina followed. The forest stretched before them, endless and black. Somewhere in the distance, water rushed over stone, a river. Darian started toward it. She didn't ask why. She just walked beside him, her steps matching his. The night wrapped around them, hiding their trail, their scent. For now, they were ghosts, but ghosts couldn't run forever. The river cut through the forest like a knife wound, black water glinting under the moonlight, cold and relentless. Seraphina knelt at its edge, her fingers breaking the surface. The current tugged at her skin, washing away the blood, the dirt, the stench of wolf. She watched the crimson swirl and vanish downstream. Behind her, Darian paced. His claws left deep gouges in the earth. His breathing was too sharp, too controlled. The fight had taken more from him than he'd admit. She could smell it, the iron tang of his wounds, the exhaustion clinging to his fur. She didn't turn. "You need to rest." A growl. "No. You're no use to me dead." His footsteps stopped. The air between them went taut. Then, a twig snapped in the trees. Both of them went still. Seraphina's fingers curled. Darian's claws slid free. A deer stumbled into the clearing, its eyes wide with panic. It hadn't seen them yet. Darian moved first. He lunged, a blur of muscle and fury. The deer barely had time to scream before his jaws closed around its throat. Blood spilled hot over his muzzle, dripping onto the forest floor. Seraphina watched. She should have looked away. Vampires didn't hunger for animal blood. It was thin, lifeless, nothing like the pulse of a human, the rush of a heartbeat against her tongue. But she didn't look away. Darian tore into the kill, his movements savage, primal. Fur and flesh ripped under his claws. When he finally lifted his head, his golden eyes found hers. Blood streaked his muzzle, his chest heaved. For a long moment, neither moved. Then he stepped back. The carcass lay between them, still steaming in the cold air. An offering. Seraphina's lips parted. She didn't need it, couldn't use it, but something dark and hungry coiled in her gut anyway. She took a step forward. Darian didn't move. His gaze burned into her, tracking every shift of her body, every breath she didn't need to take. She crouched beside the deer. Its blood smelled wrong, wild, untamed. Nothing like what she craved. But the hunger was there, gnawing at her ribs, whispering in her veins. She pressed her fingers to the wound. Darian's growl vibrated through the ground. She ignored him. Her nails sliced into the deer's flesh, parting muscle, exposing the artery beneath. Blood welled, thick and slow. She hesitated. Then, a hand closed around her wrist. Darian's grip was iron. His claws pricked her skin, not enough to break it, just enough to remind her, I could. She looked up. His eyes were molten, his breath ragged. Not this, he snarled. She held his gaze. Then what? His fingers tightened. For a heartbeat, she thought he might pull her closer, might show her exactly what he meant. Then he let go. Hunt, he said, turning away. Proper prey. The tree swallowed him before she could answer. Seraphina stared after him, her wrist still burning where he touched her. The hunger in her gut twisted, sharpened. She bared her fangs. Then she followed. She flexed her fingers. How many? All of them. A smile curled her lips. Good. Darian moved closer. His shadow fell over her, blocking the weak morning light. His golden eyes burned into the side of her face. You're not strong enough yet. I don't need to be strong. She finally turned to look at him. I just need to be angry. His nostrils flared. He could smell it on her, the fury simmering under her skin, dark and old and endless. It matched his own. A howl split the air. Then another. Closer this time. Darian's claws slid free. His muscles coiled, ready. Stay behind me. Seraphina laughed, low and dangerous. Make me. The first wolf lunged from the trees. Darian met it midair, his fangs sinking into its throat. They hit the ground in a tangle of fur and blood, rolling, snarling. Bones snapped. Seraphina didn't watch. More wolves poured from the forest. Their eyes glowed with hate, their muzzles frothing. She bared her fangs and let them come. The first dived with her hand through its chest. The second lost its head. The third. Pain exploded between her ribs. Silver, she hissed, twisting to see the wolf behind her, its claws dripping with poison. Before she could strike, Darian was there. His jaws closed around the wolf's spine. He shook it once, hard, and tossed the body aside. His chest heaved, his fur matted with gore. Seraphina touched her side. Her fingers came away black with blood. Darian snarled. Then, a voice cut through the chaos. Enough. The wolves froze. Korek stepped into the clearing. Alive. His throat was a mess of scarred flesh, his muzzle twisted in a permanent snarl. But his eyes burned with madness. You? Darian growled. Korek smiled. Miss me? Seraphina straightened. The silver in her wound burned like fire, but she didn't let it show. You're hard to kill. So are you. Korek's gaze flicked to Darian, but him. Let's find out. The attack came from all sides. Darian fought like a beast unleashed. His claws tore through fur and flesh, his fangs ripped out throats, but there were too many. Korek struck from the shadows. His silver-coated claws sank into Darian's back. Darian roared. His knees hit the dirt. Seraphina moved. Her nails sliced Korek's face, raking deep furrows across his muzzle. He howled, stumbling back, right into Darian's waiting jaws. This time, Korek didn't get back up. The remaining wolves hesitated. Seraphina stood over Darian, her hands dripping black, her eyes endless night. Run, she whispered. They ran. Silence. Darian's breathing was ragged. His wounds steamed in the cold air, healing too slow. Seraphina crouched beside him. Look at me. He did. His golden eyes were dimming. She pressed her palm to his chest. His heartbeat thundered under her fingers, wild and desperate. "Drink," she said. He snarled, "No." "Foolish wolf." Her fangs glinted in the dawn light. "You don't get to die today." Then she sliced her wrist open. Black blood welled. Darian's pupils dilated. His body shuddered. The hunger won. He bit down. The forest held its breath. Darian's jaws locked around Seraphina's wrist, his fangs buried deep in her flesh. Her black blood spilled over his tongue, thick and ancient, burning like frostfire. His body arched, muscles seizing. This was wrong. This was poison. This was death. He should have let go. He didn't. Seraphina watched, motionless as the change began. His golden eyes flooded black. Veins of darkness spread beneath his fur, pulsing like living shadows. His claws lengthened, curling into wicked hooks. His bones cracked, reshaping, rebuilding him. He tore his mouth away with a roar that shook the trees. Blood dripped from his fangs. His chest heaved. When he looked at her, his eyes were no longer wolf, no longer anything mortal. Something new stared back. Something hungry. Seraphina smiled. Better. A twig snapped. The last of the wolves had returned, drawn by the scent of blood. Their eyes widened at the sight of Darian. Their fur bristled. He turned to face them. Ant moved. One moment he was there. The next, a wolf's head hit the dirt. Then another, and another. Seraphina didn't blink. She just watched as Darian carved through his former pack like a storm through wheat. No hesitation, no mercy, just fury given form. When it was done, he stood amidst the carnage, his dark fur slick with blood. His breath came in ragged growls. Slowly, he turned to her. She met his gaze without flinching. "Feel alive yet?" A snarl. Then he was in front of her, so fast even her vampiric eyes barely tracked it. His claws caged her against a tree, his body radiating heat. The scent of him, wilderness and blood, and something other now, filled her lungs. She tilted her head. "Going to kill me, beast?" His nostrils flared. For a heartbeat, she thought he might. Then he stepped back. The forest around them was silent. No birds, no wind. Just the two of them and the bodies at their feet. Darian looked at his claws, flexing them as if seeing them for the first time. His voice, when it came, was rough with something deeper than anger. "What did you do to me?" Seraphina licked the last of her wounds closed. "I shared." His lip curled. "Liar. You were dying. I was fine." She laughed, low and mocking. "You were on your knees." A growl vibrated in his chest. He loomed over her, his shadow swallowing her whole. "Never again?" "Or what?" she whispered. His fangs grazed her throat, not biting, just testing. A warning, a promise. Seraphina didn't move. Her pulse, when she allowed it, thrummed steady against his muzzle. Then, a howl echoed in the distance. Not wolf. Something worse. Darian stiffened. His head snapped toward the sound. Seraphina's smile faded. "They're coming." He bared his fangs. "Let them." The last word wasn't human, wasn't wolf. It was a vow. The trees shuddered. Somewhere, deep in the dark, the hunt began anew. Midnight draped itself over the ruined cathedral like a burial shroud. Shattered stained glass littered the ground, glinting like frozen blood in the moonlight. The air reeked of old violence, centuries of screams soaked into the stones. This was where kings died. This was where they would rise. Seraphina walked through the wreckage, her bare feet silent on the broken tiles. Her dress, once fine, hung in tatters, fluttering like ghost skin around her legs. She trailed her fingers along the crumbling walls, feeling the echoes of forgotten prayers. Behind her, Darian prowled. His new form cast no shadow. It was the shadow. His claws clicked against stone, each step a promise of violence. His eyes, black as the void between stars, scanned the darkness. Something stirred in the ruins. Seraphina smiled. "They're waiting." Darian's growl shook dust from the ceiling. Figures emerged from the dark. Vampires, her kin, or what remained of them. Their pale faces were masks of hunger and hate. At their head stood Lysander, his crimson cloak pooling around him like spilled wine. "Little serpent," he purred, "you brought a pet." Darian lunged. Lysander moved faster, twisting away with a laugh. "Oh, he's angry." Seraphina didn't blink. "You shouldn't have run, Lysander. You shouldn't have lived." His smile showed too many teeth. "Korak was supposed to rip your heart out." Darian went still. Seraphina tilted her head. "Ah." The pieces clicked. The ambush, the silver, the way the wolves had known exactly where she'd be. Lysander had sold her. Darian's claws flexed. The air around him warped as if reality itself couldn't contain what he'd become. Lysander's smile faltered. Seraphina sighed. "Stupid boy." Then, chaos. Darian moved like the wrath of old gods. Vampires exploded into mist under his claws. Bones shattered. Lysander screamed orders, but his coven was already scattering, their courage crumbling. Seraphina watched, her arms crossed, as Darian tore through them. He was beautiful like this, all fury and fangs, his dark form cutting through the night like a blade. Lysander turned to run. Seraphina appeared in front of him. "Going somewhere?" His fist lashed out. And she caught it. Her fingers tightened until bones cracked. Lysander gasped. "You used to be smarter," she murmured. "You used to be kind," he spat. Her laugh was colder than the grave. "I lied." She ripped his arm off. Lysander's shriek echoed through the cathedral. He collapsed, writhing, his blood painted the stones black. Darian finished the last vampire and turned. His chest heaved, his claws dripped. Seraphina kicked Lysander onto his back. "Look at him," she crooned. "This is what happens when you betray me." Lysander's eyes darted between them. The monstrous wolf, the merciless vampire. Understanding dawned. "Oh," he choked. "You made him." Darian's foot came down on his throat. The crunch was obscenely loud. Silence. Moonlight streamed through the broken roof, painting the carnage in silver and shadow. Seraphina stepped over the bodies, her gaze fixed on the cathedral's altar. Once, priests had knelt there. Now it would serve a darker purpose. She turned to Darian. "Well?" He stared at her, his black eyes endless. Then slowly he knelt. Not in submission, in allegiance. Seraphina's smile could have curdled blood. "Good wolf." Outside, the night trembled. The hunt was over. The rain had begun.